Pi Network just activated smart contracts on Testnet with 17.5 million KYC-verified users ready to build and transact, not anonymous wallets, real verified humans. And while skeptics have been calling Pi vaporware for years, the infrastructure just went live. Node count increased tenfold in 2025, and developers are already testing real applications. The question is no longer if Pi is building something. The question is, can they turn this infrastructure into actual utility? What's up, crypto fam? TJ here, and welcome back to TJ Crypto World, where we track execution, not promises. Today we're breaking down Pi Network's smart contract activation on Testnet, the 17.5 million verified users creating unprecedented conditions for dApp development, and why node growth matters more than price action right now. This isn't about hype. This is about infrastructure going live, and what that actually means for Pi's transition from experiment to functional blockchain. Before I show you why 17.5 million KYC-verified users changes the entire risk profile for dApp developers, how Pi's node count surge demonstrates genuine decentralization momentum, and what smart contract activation on Testnet actually enables that was impossible before, understand this. Pi just crossed the threshold from talking about infrastructure to having infrastructure developers can actually test. Whether that infrastructure becomes valuable depends entirely on what gets built on top of it in the next few months. Stay locked in. Alright, let's start with the technical milestone that just became operational. Smart contracts are now live on Pi Network's testnet. For those unfamiliar with what this actually means, smart contracts are self-executing code that runs on blockchain infrastructure. They enable developers to build applications with programmable logic, decentralized exchanges, lending protocols, social platforms, payment systems, really anything requiring automated execution of agreements without intermediaries. Pi activating smart contracts on Testnet means developers can now build and test real applications on Pi's blockchain infrastructure. This isn't just a theoretical capability anymore. This is functional infrastructure where builders can test payment flows, logic execution, and on-chain interactions under real conditions. Why Testnet matters specifically? It provides a safe environment to identify bugs, optimize performance, and refine applications before deploying to mainnet where real value is at stake. Every major blockchain goes through extensive testnet phases. Ethereum's testnets process millions of transactions testing applications before mainnet deployment. For Pi, this represents moving beyond theory into execution. The community has been clear that this shift matters more than short-term price movements. The focus is infrastructure first, speculation second. With smart contracts active, builders can now lay groundwork for future mainnet-ready applications. Testing happens now, refinement happens now. When mainnet transitions occur, applications can deploy quickly rather than starting development from scratch. Pi's team continues framing this as long-term work. The stated goal is usage, not hype cycles. Whether that goal manifests depends on what developers actually build and whether users adopt those applications. Now let's discuss what genuinely sets Pi Network apart from typical blockchain launches. 17.5 million people have completed KYC verification. That number makes Pi one of the largest verified communities in Web3. And this isn't just statistical bragging. This fundamentally changes risk profiles for certain types of applications. Here's why identity verification matters. Most cryptocurrency operates on anonymous wallets. That anonymity creates value for privacy-focused use cases, but it also creates risks for applications requiring trust. Social platforms deal with spam and abuse. Marketplaces face fraud risk. Payment systems struggle with chargebacks and disputes. Pi's approach, actually flips that model. Every KYC-verified pioneer represents a real person with a verified identity. That creates substantially safer conditions for social applications, payment systems, and marketplaces that benefit from identity verification, while still maintaining appropriate privacy. A concrete example really demonstrates this. Blind Lounge, a recent hackathon winner, uses Pi's verified network to allow anonymous interaction while reducing spam and abuse. The application proves that identity and privacy can coexist. Users interact anonymously, but underlying identity verification prevents the worst abuse vectors that usually plague anonymous platforms. For developers building social apps, community tools, or marketplace applications, 17.5 million verified users represents, honestly, unprecedented starting conditions. You're not just building for anonymous wallet addresses hoping real humans show up. You're building for verified humans who can interact with appropriate trust assumptions. This is Pi's genuine competitive advantage, not the token price, not exchange listings. The verified user base creates unique conditions for specific application categories that really struggle on anonymous blockchains. Quick pause here. If you're starting to understand why Pi's infrastructure build focuses on verified identity and developer tools rather than exchange hype, do me a favor and smash that like button right now. And if you want to track which blockchain projects are actually building infrastructure versus which are just marketing narratives, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We separate execution from promises. Alright, let's continue with node growth. Alongside smart contract activation, Pi has experienced dramatic growth in network participation. According to community updates, mainnet node count has grown nearly tenfold in 2025. For context on why this matters, nodes perform the critical but unglamorous work of validating network activity and maintaining blockchain resilience. More nodes means more distributed validation, which reduces reliance on small operator groups and, improves genuine decentralization over time. When we discussed Pi hitting 400,000 total nodes previously, that represented distribution scale. This tenfold mainnet node growth in 2025 specifically indicates increasing commitment from operators willing to run validation infrastructure directly. That growth signals genuine interest beyond just holding tokens and hoping for price appreciation. Running nodes requires commitment, maintaining uptime, dedicating computational resources, participating in network security. People don't run nodes casually. They run nodes because they're invested in network health and long-term success. For Pi Network's credibility narrative, this node surge adds significant weight. It demonstrates users aren't only creating accounts and mining tokens, they're also contributing to underlying infrastructure that makes the network function. Decentralization isn't achieved through mission statements, it's achieved through distributed validation infrastructure operated by independent parties with aligned incentives. Pi's node growth suggests that distribution is genuinely occurring. Now let's examine how Pi is lowering barriers for the next wave of builders. Pi App Studio enables even non-technical users to build simple applications. So, the approach is actually pretty straightforward. First, you identify a real problem in your community, and then you build a small solution that addresses that specific need. This really targets everyday use cases rather than those super complex DeFi protocols. Think local commerce tools, community coordination platforms, or just simple service applications. With users spread across more than 230 countries, even the smallest applications can reach really meaningful audiences. Like, a local commerce tool that's just serving one city could still end up engaging thousands of verified users. And community coordination apps that address specific regional needs. They can totally find adoption without ever needing to go global. Community voices emphasize this is where Pi's model potentially shines. Human contribution, verified identity, and active participation all feeding into value creation. Instead of chasing speculative trading opportunities, builders focus on utility that solves actual problems. The strategic bet is that accessibility plus verified user base plus smart contract infrastructure creates conditions for organic application ecosystem emergence, rather than top-down development where Pi builds everything, bottom-up innovation where community members build solutions for their specific context. Whether this strategy succeeds depends on execution. Tools must work reliably, documentation must enable builders, distribution channels must connect applications with users, economic incentives must reward successful builders. As smart contracts roll out and development tools mature, Pi enters a critical testing phase. The technology is live, the audience exists, the tools are available. Now pressure shifts entirely to delivery. So, here's the reality Pi Network now faces. Infrastructure is no longer the excuse for lack of utility. Smart contracts are active on Testnet. Developers can build. 17.5 million verified users provide unprecedented starting conditions. Node infrastructure is growing. Development tools exist. The next few months will reveal how much of this potential converts into real functioning products that people actually use. Not promotional announcements, not roadmap promise, actual applications with daily active users solving real problems. This is Pi's moment of truth. Years of infrastructure building culminate in this phase where applications should emerge, usage should materialize, and utility should become measurable rather than aspirational. For Pi supporters, this is a validation opportunity. For skeptics, This is an accountability moment. Either applications emerge and demonstrate the infrastructure build was justified, or, another quarter passes with continued promises but limited measurable progress. I'm watching for, specific applications launching with usage metrics, transaction volume data showing economic activity, developer adoption statistics indicating ecosystem momentum, and most critically, evidence that verified users are actually transacting rather than just holding tokens. So there you have it. Crypto fam. Pi network activated smart contracts on Testnet has 17.5 million KYC-verified users creating unique development conditions, experienced tenfold node growth signaling genuine decentralization momentum, and launch tools, enabling community builders to create applications. The infrastructure is live. The users exist. The pressure is now entirely on delivery. The next few months determine whether Pi's multi-year build translates into actual utility or becomes another example of infrastructure without adoption. If this breakdown helped you understand why Pi's current phase represents a critical execution test after years of infrastructure building, show some appreciation by dropping a like on this video. And subscribe to TJ Crypto World if you want to track whether Pi delivers on this infrastructure, or if we see another quarter of promises without measurable progress. I've also got an analysis coming on 3 other projects entering similar execution phases, where infrastructure meets accountability. You'll definitely want to catch that comparison. Until next time, stay sharp, demand measurable progress, and remember, in crypto, infrastructure means nothing without applications that people actually use. This is TJ, signing off. Let's see who delivers.